Guess who's back? The Onion Boys. You've seen us harvest these bad boys, actually bigger ones than this even, John.
Yeah, these are actually your tiny ones that look a lot like mine.
Hey, he finally admits it. So we've cured them, we've preserved them like this, but now, Jacques, we have to figure out what the hell to do with all of these onions.
There's quite a lot of onions, but luckily there's quite a few ways to preserve them.
Yeah, so in this video, we're gonna show you 3 different sort of classic ways to preserve them. Some are kitchen ready, some are better for storage, and then at the very end, we still have more onions in the ground. There's a huge one, bigger than any of the ones we've shown you so far this season out in the front. We'll harvest that and show you the curing method that just keeps the onion as an onion for as long as possible. Because sometimes, I don't know about you, Jacques, but I just like storing them basically like this.
Yeah, then you can slice them up and cook them whenever you want.
Yeah, so I'm gonna set up on our fancy new outdoor cooktop. Jacques, you've got some spices to harvest. I'll see you in a second.
All right, just grabbing a couple bay leaves from my bay laurel tree, and it's a really great tree to have at home because you usually throw a couple into rice dishes or pickles or things like that. It's extremely handy to just have the tree in your backyard. Besides the bay leaves, we're gonna grab a little bit of seasoning here, and I'm gonna grab this dill head because dill is great in pickles, and we're also gonna grab a little bit of coriander. The other thing we're grabbing is this coriander, and if you didn't know, coriander is just cilantro that's gone to seed. Makes these delicious little seed heads that are great for flavoring pickles or used in savory cooking.
I'm here at my onion rack. If you don't have one, you should consider getting one or building one, but up top I have some garlic. Remember the garlic fail? Well, all is not lost. I do have some bulbs that were salvaged, immature, but they still work. So I'm gonna get one of those, and then the first thing we're gonna do is a pickled red onion, which is the absolute classic refrigerator pickled classic banger recipe. So I'm gonna grab probably 2, maybe 2 of the not as aesthetic ones, or maybe ones that don't preserve as well, because honestly, this one is probably the most gorgeous red onion I've ever grown. I don't want to waste it in the pickle, so I'll grab this one, maybe this small guy here and this small guy here. Let's go show you the outdoor setup. So here we are at the new simple outdoor cooktop setup here at the homestead. I've got my red onions and garlic, a pot, pepper, actually quite nice pepper. It's Telecherry style peppers, black peppercorns. I've got vinegar, salt, sugar, a mason jar full of water, and then I'm missing some spices. So Jacques should be here at any minute, but let's go ahead and get started with the onions here. What you wanna do is you wanna get a uniform strip, as close and uniform as possible, so that you have a nice product where it's soaking it all up in the exact same way and it kind of looks nice and tidy. So I'm just gonna start going ahead and peeling. Beauty of doing this in the garden is problem solved.
All right, I got some spices,
Hey.
some accoutrements.
Look at this. What do you got?
Fresh bay leaves,
Okay.
a delicacy.
That's rare though, to be able to grow bay leaves.
It's a pretty big flex.
That's pretty
honestly.
nice. That's a
Casual.
flex. That's a flex.
And then coriander seed, which, as you know, is cilantro.
Is cilantro, yep.
And then, I don't know if we're gonna use it, but I got a dill seed head. I don't know if it's gonna fit with the onions. I was thinking pickles.
It feels like it kind of won't, but I'm not against it. Here, you want to start chopping
Sure.
maybe another one of these onions?
Yeah.
All right, so I'm just gonna do a little bit of this action. So we're doing a 50-50 mix of white vinegar at 5% strength and water. I'm gonna put it in the mason jar at that 1-to-1 ratio here. And then, yeah, we might not use all of it because obviously the onions will take up some of the space in the jar, but it's just a quick and dirty way to measure without having to stress too much.
Yeah, and the nice thing is we're using white vinegar, but you can use like apple cider vinegar, red wine vinegar,
Yeah.
whatever you really want.
Throw a couple bay leaves in there.
Hey,
We're gonna put
fancy.
a couple of these cracked, not uncracked, sorry, Telecherry black peppers in. And then, how much on this sugar and salt?
Let me see.
Salt is the one that we need to actually get right.
So it looks like for half a cup of water, it's 3/4 teaspoons of salt.
3/4 teaspoons.
And that's what, like,
It's
probably use 2, because the whole thing's 16 ounces, right?
Yeah.
Or I can't tell. Anyway, I think we need,
I'll do a teaspoon.
yeah, do 2 teaspoons. I think we're good.
Of salt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then how much sugar?
And then it's going to be, that is kind of a preference, but 2 tablespoons is the rec.
Okay, let's go with that because we just put a lot of salt in there. So let's go with that.
And the cool thing is, just to be clear, we are doing a refrigerator pickle, so we don't have to worry too much about exact ratios or anything like that because we're not canning anything.
Yeah, this should be consumed in the next couple weeks, so I wouldn't stress about it. But it's a great way to preserve onions, and you could do it on repeat over and over and over
Exactly.
again. I'm gonna throw some coriander seed in there.
So we just literally shove it all in the jar.
Yeah.
And we pour the hot liquid on.
Yeah. So let's do a deep pack because I want to get as many of these in as I can.
I wasn't sure if we were gonna pack the whole jar, but I think you cut the exact amount of onions.
I think we have too little of jars.
So this just came to a boil, so I'm gonna just move it aside so it cools down a little bit before we pour it over. But now let's get these onions in the bag.
Yeah. So your method, Jacques, that you recommend is to freeze them in flat layers. So
yeah. The idea behind that.
You would just put them in like kind of like this and let them.
Yep.
Let them sit.
Yeah.
So you kind of can't stuff the bag.
No.
Yeah.
That is the downside. You can do a little bit of piling, but the idea is that if you make them into a clump, it's hard to separate a little bit out when you want them.
Yeah.
And this way you could just break off a tiny little chunk, throw it in your soup or your stew or whatever.
You know, if you have a big freezer though, you could put them on a baking tin, freeze them, then put them in the bag, and then just keep doing that. It's a little involved, but that'd be the way to do it.
Really easy though, because then you could do the whole half sheet and then just squish that all into a bag.
Yeah, totally. So freeze them like this. Obviously, maybe get a bigger bag. Someone in the comments, I'm sure you know a more homesteader approved method, but let's go ahead and pour this, Jacques, the moment of truth. So what you do is you just gently get that mixture in there. So a lot of this is homegrown. Only the pepper's not.
You need that pepper tree.
Yeah.
All right, that's probably pretty good.
That's pretty good.
Make sure that everything's covered by the liquid.
Yeah. So the ways you can do this are you can use what's called a kraut source, which we've recommended a lot, or you can just take a paper towel and put it here, or you can just overfill and make sure that it's below. But again, it is a refrigerator pickle. It's not as important as if this was like a true proper pickle, but still good recipe for success. And in a couple hours, you'll start to see the liquid start to turn that beautiful, beautiful purplish neonish color, and then of course all the onions will take this like lighter neon translucent color to it. So this will go in the fridge, Jacques, and now we need to get to our third method, which is dehydrating for onion powder. We're gonna take this onion right here. This I think might be the most rewarding way to preserve it because you get a little of onion and you knew that you grew it.
And honestly, one of the underrated spices in the kitchen that gives you like a secret little depth of flavor that nobody will know about is onion powder.
Absolutely.
And just like anything from the garden, a homegrown onion tastes amazing. So you know that homegrown onion powder is also gonna be amazing.
It's good. I've done it a bunch of times. So I'm gonna do my onion chopping dice technique. It's not really mine at all.
Start like this.
You do one of those, right?
I start with this cut.
Yeah.
Leave the root on.
I should have done that.
To maintain.
So I'm gonna do that right now.
Oh yeah. Sometimes you learn on the job.
I've been doing this for years. So I'm gonna go even nice dices because we're gonna put this in a dehydrator, which of course you could also put it in the oven at about 140 Fahrenheit. So you don't think you need a dehydrator. So I just spread these out. So Jacques, basically there's as much airflow as possible around them. So that would mean like this. In a perfect world, you would have broken it up a little bit more in the layers, but it's all good. So let's go ahead and take these into the dehydrator. It's been a while since you guys have seen the epic garage. Jacques, I don't know if you remember, one of the first videos I ever did on the channel was the floor.
Yeah, and it still actually looks really good.
It looks incredible. So what we've done is a little bit of cooking magic, and we started dehydrating one batch. So let's slide these in, Jacques. There you go. Put yours in. And then let's take ours out, and you can see what the final product will look like. Obviously you can tell this is much smaller than it once was, and get that little crackle. So these ones are very, very close to done, but you can get a sense at least for how they bake down. And what we'll do is we'll put these ones back in. We're running it at 125 Fahrenheit, lower, a lot slower. So this might go 18 to 24 hours.
Yeah, it's already been probably 12.
Yeah, it's been about 12, and then what we'll do is we'll come back and grind it all up into onion powder, show you how to make onion powder that doesn't stick together in the jar. We're back. It's been 2 days, Jacques. This has been dehydrating for quite some time.
And this looks really pink.
That looks really pink. So why don't we taste this guy first? Ooh.
I actually still have some spice.
Ooh, that garlic?
Very crispy. Surprised by how crispy it is.
It's crispier than I thought it would be.
Yeah.
That's a big win. Big win right there. Bigger win though is gonna be our custom powder. Ooh. Give it that crackle.
A little snack. Here's the thing, like,
honestly,
that's a good onion. It's like sweet. I could eat that like a bowl of chips. Like,
I could eat that like chips.
No problem.
So I got an actual spice grinder. Jacques, this has actually made a big difference for me. Spice and nut grinder.
Interesting.
I've only used it for the spices, guys.
It's basically like a coffee grinder for spices, right?
Yeah, it just somehow, I think the blades go a little more...
The geometry is better.
Aggro, yeah. But the cool part, the fun part is you just... little bit of that.
Okay.
And then look, you can see the tornado, the vortex.
Wow. It's definitely pulverizing. So you just let it run until whenever? Like, then you stop it yourself?
For me, I want it as fine as possible, so I could let it run. The only problem you run into here is it will heat it up. The friction will actually heat it up.
It'll get softer.
Yeah.
Wow.
So, I mean, see that smoke?
That's crazy.
So let's take a look at the powder. I mean, look, it's powder.
That's
guys.
wild.
It's straight powder. Why don't you hit a little of that
hey,
China white?
That's me twice. That Grand X white?
Ooh.
That's delicious. Sweet, oniony. It's almost like a caramelized onion flavor.
Wow.
That's so good.
That's really nice. So I'm gonna add more in.
Hey.
I'm gonna keep on going here.
You're just giving me more reasons to want to grow more onions next year.
I don't mind a little bit of chunk in there, to be honest with you. No. I actually really don't mind that.
You know what I just realized? Like whenever you buy onion powder, you don't really know what kind of onion it is.
That's a good point.
Like, what if you did a red onion powder?
Oh.
And like a white onion powder?
We should have done that, actually.
That would actually be really interesting.
All right, so we're going going the old school method here. Works.
It works.
Works. Let's do one more. See what I mean? Like it's already
it kicked up a little bit.
So I think there's a way, comment if you know, how to prevent this. You can get those desiccant packs, but I think there's even an additive people will put in, like maybe some salt or something to break it up, because it will stick. You know?
I've seen people like sift and then regrind, sift and regrind, but it doesn't change the stickiness.
Yeah, it doesn't. You want to loosen, well actually, you know what? Yeah, loosen some of that up and I'll grind the rest. Powdered onions, pickled onions, frozen onions, but if you want to just have an onion for the long term, store it for the long term, which I definitely want. I know you want, Jacques.
Oh, yeah.
You need to learn how to cure onions. So let's head out to the front yard and harvest that honker. I told you we were about to show you the biggest onion of the season, and I did not lie. Jacques, you found this one creeping in the Birdie's urban round. Actually quite aesthetic with the onions in it, I have to say.
Is, yeah.
But dude, we thought this would just go for, I don't know, maybe another month or so.
That's what I was hoping for.
The rest of them are, but this one, which is the biggest one, has flopped. And you see it, it's become sort of a double onion. I'm counting it as one though, because it really did come from one
same root
plant. It's the same root. I did not plant two next to one another. So do you want to do the honors? You want to grab one, I grab one?
Sure.
3, 2, 1, pull.
3, 2, 1.
2, 1, pull. Are you serious right now?
Insane.
That's actually crazy. So it does look like it's sort of split, right?
Oh, there's even another onion in there.
There's a separate root system, but it isn't from two onions.
No.
I don't know exactly why this happens, but regardless, I think what we could do is actually do a crack.
Crack it.
What do you think? This might have been a fatal mistake.
Now we can see the inner workings of a giant onion.
This one's fine, right?
So look though, this is the same root, because you can tell that it actually split apart.
It broke right there. That's actually crazy.
Really interesting.
Well, let's take this back, because we've got to cure this one. This is the way to save an onion as an onion, and we'll show you the ones we cured from before. So here's our onion table. So Jacques, talk to me about the process.
So first of all, next flop, so we're ready to harvest.
Yep.
And then in terms of curing, you want to keep them out of direct sun is generally best, so they don't cook.
Maybe like the first day it's okay.
Yeah.
After that,
so they could dry down.
Yep.
And then you want these roots to be entirely dry by the time they're ready to be processed. The other thing you're looking for is the neck. So I think that one is probably ready.
This one looks good. So take a look. The roots are very dry here. So if I'm prepping this one to actually be long-term stored, I can tell it's nice and crispy, nice and papery.
It's very dry.
So you come in, give it that snip. If you want, you can remove the one layer of paper just for aesthetics. It's not necessary at all. And what you'll see is basically the onion you see at the store, right? This is one from the original video a couple weeks ago.
Yeah.
And it looks absolutely beautiful. It's actually some of the ones that we've cut up to show you how to preserve in a different way in this video. So onions actually, Jacques, to me, one of the more rewarding crops this year, and I haven't had as much bulbing success in prior years, like nowhere near this level.
Definitely underrated.
We had to find ways to use it. And you've got a bunch in your garden as well. So hopefully this helped you. If you want to see how we cured them and harvested them, check out this video. Good luck in the garden and keep on growing. I'll tell you, these little like container things, man, have saved me.
Honestly, I was eyeing that.
They are sexy.
It's a good idea.
They are absolutely sexy.